Okay. I think we're all here. Hello. Okay, we're going to start. So, just be mindful. If you get warm, remember there are fans all over the room. And if you're not by one and you're like going, oh my gosh, I need air, you could ask the person who's closer to the fan if they could kind of turn it on. And they can oscillate. They can also be on like just staying in one place.
When you get warmed up.
And they also get pretty high in strength. So, you know, and I know some people really hate the fans and some people really love the fans. So I don't know what to tell you. Just work it out. Yeah. We'll just, you know, and remember, building a little body heat is good. Warming up the core a little bit is good. So get comfortable, whether you're sitting in your chair or on the floor. If you need blankets, grab them to sit on. And if you're in your chair, make sure your feet are about hips distance apart and parallel. So lining up your feet with your hip pointer bones here, about in the middle of your feet. You can move forward if you want, Sherry, actually. That might be the best one.
We're staying in the direction of the fan.
Oh.
Yeah, she asked me if I was good with fan, and I said, oh, yeah. But then I realized it was
like right there. Well, you could even go farther forward, and that will oscillate, too, if you want. If you're feeling like you can't move your arms.
You're going to be exhausted, but I've had it, I'm going.
Okay, yoga's over for Sherry.
Sorry.
So sit comfortably and let yourself close your eyes and really just enjoy feeling as you lengthen up through the top of your head. Enjoy feeling your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And just watch your breath. Don't worry about controlling your breath right now. Just watch, see where the breath goes. And then see if you can start to feel your breath coming into your belly. You can even put your hands on your belly if you'd like, so that when you breathe in, you feel the belly expand a little bit, like a balloon blowing up. And if you're comfortable to come into deeper breaths, you can breathe into the belly and then up a little higher into your ribs. And then let the breath out of the ribs first, and then your belly. And then if you want to breathe in a little deeper still, you can go into that third part. You can inhale into your belly, and then into your ribs, and then all the way up into your chest. And when you exhale, let the breath come out of your chest first, and then your ribs, and then your belly. And on your next exhale, release your arms on out beside you here. So if you're on the floor, you can lightly touch the floor with your fingertips. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our chest. Once you're there, just take a breath, lengthen up through the top of your head. Feel your feet, whatever part of your feet are on the floor, just gently press down into your feet. And then we'll inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. And let's inhale here, and as we exhale, we're going to twist to our right. So if you can bring your left hand maybe all the way to your right knee, or maybe you want to leave the hand more at the midline, right? If you're in your chair, your back arm can just release down the back of your chair. And if you're on the floor, you can just lightly touch the floor with your fingertips. Good. One more breath. And as you exhale, come on back around through center and go in the other direction with your twists. So again, just be mindful. Let the hands come down to rest where your shoulders feel comfortable and easy. Wake up the spine here, finding that twist in the middle of the back. Press down into your feet a little bit. One more inhale. And on your exhale, come on back around into center again. Good. And let's inhale our right arm all the way up. Remember, if you do the wrong side, it doesn't matter. We'll do both. And we're going to come over into side stretch. And the reason I don't mirror you is because the phone already does that, so no worries. Just do the side that feels comfortable here. One more breath into the side body. And then we'll rise up and lower that arm on down, and we're going to go to the other side, inhaling that left arm up, and then again, coming over into your side stretch. So on the ground, you know, that bottom hand might give you a little support. In your chair, you can let that arm hang, or you can hold on to your chair, or you might even want to put your hand in your lap. So one more breath, and then we're going to rise on back up. And from here, let's lengthen our legs out all the way. And if you're in your chair, you don't have to straighten your legs. They can be bent, right? But start to circle your feet, whether you're on the floor or in your chair. Let your feet circle. And if you want to go opposite directions with the feet, you can. We're going to reverse and go the other way. So whether you're doing opposite, like that, or the same direction with the feet, once you switch, you're going to end up going both ways. So just switch a couple more times. Feel your ankles and release. Then come on back to flex your feet, draw your toes back, and then point your feet. So you feel like you're really reaching all the way into your toes here now. And then draw just your toes back, like a Barbie foot, right? You really have a Barbie foot here because you're pointing your feet, you're really reaching into the balls of the feet, but just your toes draw back. That's it. And then flex the feet and draw the toes and the balls of the feet back. Let's do that one more time. Point your feet. And now try to draw just your toes back. Good. And then flex through the feet again. Nice. And then we're going to release. If you were cross-legged on the floor, try to switch to bring your other leg in front. So it'll be the side that doesn't feel the most natural. So come on to that other side. And we'll release our arms on down beside us again. And let's inhale the hands straight on out from our shoulders. And then flex your hands. Let the fingertips face up towards the ceiling. Bend your elbows, bring your hands in towards your shoulders, and then imagine you're pushing two invisible walls away from you as you press out into the heels of your hands. And then again, inhale, bringing the hands in closer towards your shoulders. And exhale, pressing out and feeling the undersides of your arms. And then one more time, inhaling, bringing the hands in. And on the exhale, let them come on back out. And now let your elbows soften and circle your hands around a little bit. So let the hands circle in one direction, feeling your wrists. And then reverse, go the other way. Good. And then bring yourself into your left arm over your right and give yourself a hug. Let your elbows melt down. Now you can hold kind of low, down into your armpit level if it feels better that way. You can go up and over the shoulders if you want to. But go ahead and let your chin come down and see if you can then just roll a little bit through with your head going down and then around to one side and then easily just making your way to the other. So don't do something that feels really uncomfortable, but maybe you can find some release for your neck this way. And once you finish with your chin back down to center, bring your gaze on up. Now, if you can release your hands and start to just gently bring them towards each other, the backs of your hands towards each other. You know, that doesn't mean you have to go far. Some of you I know like to do a full eagle wrap. You can send the backs of the hands closer together, or you can put your right fingers into your left palm and come into that full wrap. But be mindful, just let it feel like a good and releasing feeling in your shoulders, not pain. And then we're going to release, bring the arms straight on out from our shoulders. Then we're going to go to the other side, bringing that other arm on top. Right arm on top of the left. Again, let yourself kind of find where you want to hold. Give yourself that hug. Bring your chin on down and move your head around however you want. Really, you might just want to let your chin turn side to side. Or you might want to roll your right ear towards your right shoulder. Just let yourself find what release you need there between the shoulder blades on your back. And then once you come back into center with your head, let your gaze come on back forward. And again, you decide, you can stay hugging. You can release your hands and come just a little bit. You can slide if you want the back of your left hand to the outside of your right elbow. You can come into that full wrap if you want. Remember, just be mindful. Let it feel good. One more breath. And then we'll release to bring our arms on down beside us. Good. And shake your hands and your arms out a little bit. Stretch your legs out if you need to. Kind of shake them out a little bit. And we're going to come on around towards our hands and knees. But if you don't want to be down on the floor and you don't want to be on your knees, you're going to use your chair. So turn your chair around so that the seat of the chair faces into your mat if you're using your chair. And you can put your hands down on the seat of your chair there. And if you need support under your hands, if your wrists feel, really uncomfortable, then see if you can come up onto your fists. Thank you, Kathy. Make sure the chair's on the mat, too. So coming up onto fists erases that wrist crease. Being flat on your hands is fine as long as your wrists feel okay with that. Or come down onto your forearms if you need to, right? So that you're out of your hands entirely. Or hold the edge of the seat of your chair, too. And then we're going to move through our cat-cows. So we're going to let ourselves slowly start to feel that ease of letting your back start to come through all these curves, right? Exhaling when you draw up into your cat pose. And inhaling when you send your tailbone back and up and move through to your cow. So you just very mindfully feel that. And if anything hurts, remember, don't do it. If one of these poses feels too extreme for you, just don't do it. Good, and take your time. Let your head feel like it's a part of your spine. Right? So it's really when you start with your tailbone and then you bring your awareness up the spine gradually till you get up to your head. It's the last thing that either comes up or melts down when you go into cat pose. Finish off the one you're on. Come on back to a neutral spine. And we're going to bring our left foot forward and our right foot back and come into a lunge. Now, you don't have to go really far back with that right foot to find a lunge, right? You do want to feel like you're on really narrow railroad tracks, remember. You don't want to feel like you're walking a tightrope. That's not so good for the hips. And whether you step your foot back 2 feet or 3 feet or 4 feet, you're going to get into the back of that leg. So take your time, engage your belly a little bit. Feel like you're using your belly. Let that back leg open up. Good. And we are going to switch legs. So however you want to do that, whether you like to step your feet forward and then step back with the other leg. And again, how far apart your feet are. The long way is up to you. Just make sure it's like you're on narrow railroad tracks. Good. And we are going to switch our legs one more time. So this time, I know a lot of you really like to lift your front hand. So the hand of the leg that's forward, if you want to put your hand up on your thigh to give you a little bit out of your hands, a little more into your legs, you can, but you don't need to. And then we're going to switch legs again. So again, if your left foot is back, your right foot is forward, then your right hand might want to come up to your thigh. Or your forearm, if you're really in a lower stance, you can have your forearm on your thigh. You don't have to do either one of those. And then we'll bring our hands down. And we're going to step forward and come into standing forward bend. Our feet are hips distance apart and parallel. If you know coming forward is not good for your back, right? Grab blocks if you need to and put them up on that chair seat so you're not going so far down. And you have length in your back. And you're able to really comfortably come into the forward bend to allow yourself to release the backs of your legs. You can put your elbows above your knees too. That's another way to support. Hands on the blocks is a good support. And just let yourself enjoy feeling your breath now, coming in to expand your ribs in all directions. And let your face be soft. If you're able to just turn your head a little bit side to side, do so you kind of feel the weight of your head. And then bring your head on back into center. And from here, we're going to let ourselves bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips, press into our feet, and rise on up to standing. Once you're up, let your arms release beside you, and then inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let your hands come down together in front of your heart. So we're going to find mountain pose. You may want to adjust a little bit. You can even look at your feet and kind of walk in place a little bit so that you shift. And you make sure your feet are parallel and the toes are facing forward here. You really don't want one foot to turn out slightly, right? You want to get as even as you can. And everybody's different in their hips. So find the stance that feels really supportive for you and balanced. And then bring your gaze on out like you're looking out all the way out to the horizon. You know me, I love to close my eyes for mountain pose. But if you tend to get dizzy, you should leave your eyes open. And then just imagine you're looking out, way out beyond the wall. Just out to where the ground, the horizon, like in a flat open field in Oklahoma, easy to find. And then just feel your feet now. Pressing gently down into the floor, almost like you're pushing the floor away from you with your feet. And then imagine that you're kind of growing up out of those rooted feet. Your thighs are going to softly lift upward, creating space in your knees, but not locking your knees. And then your hips just want to come over your ankles and your shoulders over your hips. Bringing your gaze to a place where you feel comfortable in your neck, right? So you don't want your chin to jut forward. You don't want to tuck it back under. You got to feel that space in the back of your throat too. Mountain pose. Imagine you're being supported by the air all around you, so it's very easy to be here in your mountain. And as we release our arms right down beside us, we're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And as we exhale, we're going to bend our knees as we come forward, back into that standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find a flat back, like you have a tabletop back. Your hands can be on your legs or on your chair or the blocks. And we're going to step our right foot back to come into lunge here. So coming back into that lunge, releasing that right heel directly behind you. And from here, we'll come into a downward facing dog pose. So take your time. Hands on the chair means that your feet are going to be flat on the floor, and you're going to reach back through your sitting bones and your tailbone. Feel your elbows softly hugging towards each other. Let yourself come into your down dog of choice, whether your hands are on the floor or up on the blocks or on the chair. And on the next inhale, we'll come out like we're going to do a plank. So you don't have to go all the way into a push-up pose. You can, if you want, just shift a little weight to your hands. If you need to come down to your forearms, come down to your forearms, right? Or you can just let yourself come a little bit, bend your elbows a little if you like little push-ups. And then we'll reach back again into down dog. So again, reaching back now equally through your sitting bones and back through your tailbone. And from here, we will bring our right foot forward to come into a lunge. And it does not matter how you get into that lunge. You can put your left knee down, you can come up and then back into your lunge. And then we'll step forward and come right back into our standing forward bend again. So again, use whatever support you want. Put blocks up in your chair if you want to be higher. Let yourself feel, if possible, the weight of your head, as long as it doesn't hurt your back. And then just breathe. Full breaths into the ribs. Imagine you have a rubber band around your rib cage, and when you inhale, that rubber band expands in all directions. And let go of your face. Think about feeling very soft through your face, all around your eyes and all around your mouth, and especially your jaw. In fact, even just imagine you're smiling for a second. Even though you don't physically smile, imagine you are. And you feel this lightness that comes into your face. And as we now bend our knees and press into our feet, we're going to come right back up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. We're going to inhale our hands right back up through the midline. And on the exhale, open your arms, bend your knees so you really hinge forward from your hips. It takes it out of your back. And let your next inhale help you find that flat, long back. And this time, the left foot steps back to find lunge. So take your time. Let yourself draw your shoulders down away from your ears and imagine zipping up your low belly. And we're going to make our way into that downward facing dog pose again. So again, if your hands are on the chair, your feet are fully on the floor. You can still bend your knees if you need to and reach back. Same thing if your hands are on blocks, right? Changes the alignment of the shoulders. And of course, if your hands are on the floor, you kind of are like an upside down V, right? And on the next inhale, let's come on again out towards that plank, that push-up pose. And again, if it's too much for you, don't do it, right? Come to your forearms if you need to, a forearm plank. If you like to bend your elbows, do some little push-ups. Feel free to do that. You find what works for you. And then we'll make our way back again into our downward facing dog pose. And from here, our left foot will come forward. So again, however you need to come back into that lunge, take your time to get there. And then we'll step back forward with our feet underneath us into standing forward bend. And again, if you need to stack up blocks, if you need to let your elbows rest above your knees and keep your back long that way, that's another way to keep the length of the back there so that you're not loading your low back. Now, I know some of you like to just go ahead and fold over your legs. If you like to hold your elbows, go right ahead if it's not too much. Just be mindful. Accept those full, deep, even breaths. And imagine, even if it's not really happening, that you're breathing equally in and out through both sides of your nose. Now, I know that's hard if one side's stopped up, right? But you can still just imagine you are. And then we'll bend our knees, and we're going to bring our hands to our hips, press into our feet, and rise on up, and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right on up through the midline, and on the exhale, bend the knees as you come forward again from the hips. Let your next inhale help you find a long, flat back. And this time, we're going to just walk into down dog. So you put your hands the height you like, right? You know, and maybe you're like, well, I wonder what would happen if I put my hands on the blocks instead. That you can experiment a little bit. You can have your hands to the floor, be more like an upside down V. You can walk your dog a bit, bend one knee at a time. Let yourself release into finding the back of one leg at a time. Good. And then from here, we'll come on out towards that plank. And again, it is totally optional, whether you come all the way, whether you like to do a little push-up or not. Some of you might even want to do a little back bend. That's up to you. If you like to do a back bend, you can come down with your hips and maybe through with your chest, or come into a sphinx on the floor or a cobra. And then we'll make our way back into down dog. Remember, those are optional, those back bends. So take your time. We are going to come right out again towards that plank, whether you like to stay in plank or you like to let yourself come through for a back bend or do those little push-ups, totally up to you. And then we'll make our way again back into downward facing dog pose. And from here, let's bring our right foot forward to find lunge. step all the way back forward into our standing forward bend. And again, go to where you can be really comfortable enough to release through your upper body. Again, if you need to stay up higher, you can use blocks under your forearms, under your hands. Let yourself be mindful. Release your head and your neck and your jaw. Good. One more breath. And then from here, we'll bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips, and press into our feet to rise straight up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So just enjoy. Find your mountain pose again, and bringing the gaze on out, whether your eyes are open or closed. And of course, if you need to kind of shift a little bit, sometimes it feels good to sway back and forth a little bit, side to side, or front to back, or both, right? To where you can feel like you can even out between your feet. And it's really easy to feel your tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. Your belly is just gently engaging. And maybe just imagine that the air around you is really just holding you up there in your mountain pose, so it makes it very effortless. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us and move around however you need to. If you need to move through your feet, walk around a little bit too. Let's take our chair. Well, let's turn it around if we're using the chair so that the back of the chair faces us. And you all who don't have a chair, have your blocks handy towards the front of the mat, okay, in case you need them. So you can put your hands on the chair if you want to, so that you have steady support. And we're all going to step our right foot back and be in Warrior One, which is the front-facing warrior. You all are facing the short front edge of your mat, right? Your shoulders are around square. And you've got the back foot turned out maybe 20, 30 degrees in Warrior One. Now, you can have your feet a lot further apart than this, or you can have them closer together. And if you feel unsteady, you can separate them the wide way more so you have a broader base of support and your hips feel okay, right? So you're welcome to keep your hands on the chair for support. Those of you who are fine to bring your hands to your heart, you can. And just let yourself enjoy bringing your gaze forward. Feel equal between your feet here. And then see if you can rise your arms up into a wide V. You can always keep one hand on the chair and do one arm at a time too. So if you feel unsteady, try one arm and then the other. If you're able to do both, you can. Feeling that uplift in the front of the body. Releasing down the back of the body. Good. One more breath. And then lower your arms on down. And we're going to turn to the right side of our mat. And now, let your feet be at least as wide as your shoulders, maybe a little wider. But then turn your toes out, right? So you've got your toes turned out a little bit. And you're going to bend your knees a little for goddess. Both knees are bent out over the center of your feet. You don't have to go low, man, to feel your hips in this. You'll feel your hips and your thighs. From there, see if you can bring your arms straight out from your shoulders and then bend your elbows to 90 degrees with your palms facing forward. So the palms are facing the long edge of the mat. And now when you inhale, straighten your legs up and straighten your arms up and become the letter X. Just think, oh my, I look just like an X. And then when you exhale, bend your knees and your elbows and come back down. You don't need to go very far. So again, inhale, come into the letter X with your body. And then exhale and bend your knees and your elbows a little bit. Good. One more time. Inhale into that X. And then exhale, bend the knees. Let yourself come in. Yes, nice. Stay here for a breath if you can. And then bring your arms on down. Straighten your legs up so you can turn your toes now so your feet are more parallel. So now you're still wide in your legs. You're going to, if you need, grab a block or two. And we're going to come on down with our hands onto blocks or the floor, depending on you. And let yourself, yes, use a chair if you want. And let yourself come on into your wide-legged forward bend. So bend a knee at a time if you choose. If that's okay for your knees. Everybody's knees are different. Really take your time. Let yourself Release as you come from side to side a little bit. Good. And then once you come back to center, let both knees bend equally if you can. See if you can let your elbows come to above your knees. So you've got your hands, they can just meet together there in the center. You're in a squat. Yeah, if it's too much, don't do it. Good. And then from here, bring your hands on back down to whatever you're using underneath your hands. And then let your shoulders, keep your hands centered, either on the floor or the blocks of the chair. And then let your shoulders go to the left a little bit and your torso. And then come back to center and do the same thing over to the other side. Now keep your legs equal. So if they're bent, let them both stay bent equally. Go back again to the left. See if you can maybe go a little further. Don't move your hands. And then go back through center and go over to the right again. Keep the legs equal. And then come back into center again. And let yourself, if you need, use your blocks, set up however you want so that you can release and let yourself hang your head. So you can keep a long back and then let your head hang here pretty easily. Or you can go ahead and fold more and let your hands release more towards between your feet if you choose to. You know, that is just not in everybody's body. So you go where you can. Really enjoy feeling that sense of the inner thighs kind of melting their way behind you. Remember, your knees can be bent or they can be straight. Full deep breath. See if you can. Let your inhales and exhales become pretty even. So count when you breathe in and think about reaching the same count when you breathe out. One more full deep breath here. Now be really mindful when you come up, okay? So you may decide you want to bring your feet a little closer together before you come up, or you may decide you want to stay wide, but if you're dizzy at all, you have a chair there, you can put your hand on it, make sure you're not going to fall over, and then we're going to switch and go to the other side, okay? So take your time, and again, you can use your chair, have your blocks to the front of your mat, and front-facing warrior, warrior one, left foot is going to step back, and again, remember, you just want to be really mindful of having your stance wide enough where your hips feel okay, and then you want this back foot to be turned out just a little bit, right? You don't want it to be all the way parallel with the edge of your mat. You want the heel to come in a little bit. And then you can decide, hold on to the chair, be right there, let your hands come to your heart if you want. So bringing your shoulders over your hips, you can have your foot more under your chair so your hands can be right there and you can still get aligned. And you may rise your arms up into that wide V, drawing the pinkies towards each other. If you like to look up, you can. See if you can imagine inhaling up the front of your body and exhaling down the back of your body. It's almost like a waterfall down the back of the body when the breath flows down, right? One more breath. And then we're going to lower our arms on down. And again, we're going to turn sideways on our mat. Okay? And let your feet get parallel at first. And then see about turning your toes out just a little bit, right? So you have your toes turned out a little bit. Good. And we're going to bend our knees a bit, just a little. And then bring your arms on out beside you into your goddess arms. Bend your elbows to 90 degrees. And you don't have to bend your knees far to feel your thighs, do you? Now inhale and come into that letter X. Straighten your arms and your legs up. Be a letter X. And then when you exhale, bend your knees and your elbows again, so you come down a little bit. And then again, inhale, come into that letter X. And then when you exhale, see about bending a little bit, letting yourself come into your hips and your thighs. We're going to do one more. Inhale into that letter X. And then when you exhale, bend your knees and your elbows. There you are in goddess. One more breath. And then release your arms down. We're going to, again, turn our feet to where they're more toes or feet are parallel. And as you come forward, use what you need. You can have your chair there. You can have your blocks underneath your hands. You can go all the way down to the floor if you want. And once you get there, see about just letting yourself walk a little with your blocks or your hands to the right. Now, some of you might want to go all the way to your foot. That's totally up to you. You go as far as you want to go. Good. And then come on back through center and try going to the left. Again, it doesn't matter how far you go. Just go as far as you want to go and then stay there to be with your breath. Good. And then come on back into center again. Take your time. Remember, in this pose, your knees can both be bent, right? Or you can have your legs straighter. But imagine your inner thighs are kind of melting their way behind you. And now just release however you need to for your upper body. So if you need to get some support underneath your forearms or your hands or your head, you can always use a block under your head. See if you can then just let go through the upper part of the body and feel your breath coming in to the ribs. Really allowing yourself to take your time. Feel those full, deep inhales and exhales. In fact, imagine that your inhales and your exhales are equally important. Good. One more breath here. And to come up, just be really mindful again. Hands can come to your thighs. You can bring your feet more together. If you're dizzy at all, let yourself use support however you need. Walk the feet together when you're ready. And, you might want to pick a foot up at a time, kind of move around through your ankles. I like to turn to the tops of my toes and press in so that I can release the feet a little bit more. So we're going to come into Warrior 2 this time. So again, you can have your chair to put your hand on. We're going to step our right foot back and get that right foot about parallel to the back edge of our mat, right? And then our left foot is about parallel to the long edge of our mat. And we're going to bend that front knee and let ourselves just find our Warrior 2 legs. So, how far apart your feet are is up to you. You can have your stance right here. You don't have to be long. You can be longer than I am here. You can be in between, right? So from here, just let your arms come on up and out, rising them up out from your shoulders, and you're going to look out over your front hand there. Let yourself just enjoy looking out over your left hand, reaching back equally back through your right fingertips as you reach forward through your left. Good. And then we're going to put our right hand down on our right hip. We're going to straighten that front leg out and bring our hand down for triangle pose. Now, I like to use my chair, right? I know a lot of you like to go way down. You like to slide your hand down your leg. Some of you might want to use a block underneath your hand. So take your time. Let yourself stay up where you need as you extend your torso out over that front leg. So you're really just keeping your body nice and long. You can add the top arm up if you want to, but you don't need to. That's totally optional. Good. We're going to come back to Warrior 2 here. Bend that front knee again and let yourself come on back into your Warrior 2 arms too. And then we're going to bring our hands down and we're going to turn to come into a lunge with that right heel releasing directly behind us. Now you can be up as high as you want. You can be on your chair back. You can go down to the seat. You can go to your blocks. And we're going to add a twist, left hand to the left hip. And we're going to roll to look to the left. Now you can keep your hand down on your hip. You can put it on your back, right there on your low back, palm inward. Or you can stretch your arm up. And it does not matter how low you are in your lunge to come into this twist. It's a twist in the middle of your back. And then we're going to release to come on back down with our hands. We're going to step forward, get our feet right underneath us. And then press into your feet and rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, we'll let our hands come right down to find our mountain pose. Now, if you can, let your hands come away from you for a second, right? So they're out there. You can feel them out there. You're still keeping your gaze forward. And then when you exhale, just let the thumbs come to plug in, almost like they want to plug in and make a connection somewhere on your chest. And there's no right or wrong. It's just where you feel good to be in your shoulders. Coming into your mountain pose. Enjoy that balance between the right and the left side of your body and the balance between the front and the back of your body. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us, shake out a little bit because we're going to come to the other side. So left foot is going to step back to come into that warrior two. So remember, that back foot is about parallel to the back edge of your mat. The right foot, the front foot is about parallel to the long edge. And when you bend that front knee, be aware of really aligning, right? It doesn't matter how deeply. You might barely bend the knee. You certainly don't want the knee to go like that, way out beyond your toes, way too much pressure. And then from there, just float your arms up. You can keep your hand on the chair for balance if you need, or you can bring both arms on up and out. So keep the front hand down if you need to. Let yourself find that powerful warrior two pose. Good. One more breath here. Feel the feet in the floor equally. Good. And from there, we're going to bring our left hand to our left hip and straighten our right knee out. So both legs are straight, and your right hand comes down, and you extend yourself out over that front leg. So you don't need to go far. Totally up to you how far you go. You're more than welcome to go lower and lower if you feel like it. Bringing the hand down lower. Feel the left shoulder drawing up towards the ceiling now. And if you want to draw your left arm up towards the ceiling as well, you can. Totally optional to use that arm, and you know it. Keep the hand down if you need to. And then we're going to bend that front knee. We're going to come on back into warrior two, pressing the feet away from each other as we come. And as the hands come down now, we need to find a lunge. So again, as you release that back left heel directly behind you, you can have your hands up as high as you want. You can go down lower if you want to the seat or to the blocks. It's up to you. And then let your right hand come to your right hip and roll that shoulder up. If you can, put your palm down onto your low back there too, rolling that shoulder up. Just make sure you're not dropping into the left side, right? You want to keep fairly level in your hips. If you want to stretch that right arm up, you can. Good. And then we're going to come on down with our hand, and we're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us again. Get hips distance apart and parallel with your feet. Bend your knees, press into your feet, and rise on up to standing, and we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. So find your mountain. And you know, again, it's okay if you sway a little bit. Sometimes it just feels really good to sway. I like to make circles with the swaying sometimes. So that I circle and get littler and littler and littler with the circles till you get just right there, totally centered between your feet, front to back, side to side. Let mountain pose feel really almost like a freedom. I mean, it is almost like you are being held up by the air around you. Almost like you're part of the space around you, really. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us and shake out a little bit. From here, we're either going to use our chair, seat, or our blocks, right? So if you don't have your chair seat, obviously, you are going to get your blocks. And we're going to bring our hands down either onto the seat of our chair like this, or down onto our blocks the highest height. So make sure you have your blocks the highest height here. And if you're on your chair, that's even better. That's where I'm going to go to. Get your feet right underneath you now so that your hips distance apart and parallel. Okay? Now, think about, as you bend both your knees, what's going to happen when you lift your right foot up off the floor. So when you do, you'll know if your left supporting leg is in a good spot, right? So now, see if you can start to extend that right leg long behind you into a warrior three. Toes are facing down. And then bend both your knees again and let your right foot go up like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. So you're really bending that knee, and the foot is looking up towards the ceiling. And man, oh man, there's your left leg, isn't it? And then see if you can straighten out again into that warrior three. Some of you might even want to bring your left hand up off the block, bring it to your heart or reach it forward. Totally up to you. Remember, it's the opposite arm as the leg that's back behind you. And then put your hand back down. For a second, open that right hip a little bit, like you're doing half moon. Draw the toes so that they come away from the floor, and you stack your right hip kind of on top of your left. And now turn the toes back down towards the ground. And now put the foot back on the floor, and right away, lift your left foot up. Bend both knees for a second. Stay really bent, knees side by side. There's already a kind of relief, right? And then stretch back, well, maybe not a relief, but then stretch back and let your leg be long. Turn the toes of that left foot down towards the floor. And then bend both knees again, but this time let that left foot look up at this, be like a footprint is being put on the ceiling. It's a different feeling than when the knees are side by side. It's harder. And then, of course, you can stretch long with both legs being long now. Maybe you want to release your right arm off, reaching forward with your hand, or put your right hand on your chest. You don't have to do any of this, and you know it. You can, if you want, practice a little more strength in that leg. And then put your right hand down, and again, we're going to draw into that little half moon, just only with the hips. So think of drawing your toes up away from the floor, that left foot, and like you're stacking your left foot on top of your right. You can go as far as you want. Let yourself just stay for a breath. And then turn your toes back down, bring the foot back down to the floor. Separate your feet towards the outside edges of your mat. And then bend your knees. And maybe you want to keep your hands on blocks and stay there. Maybe you want to release your elbows to above your knees. And I know some of you will want to squat all the way down. So if you like to squat all the way down towards the ground with your hips, do it. You can turn your toes out more. You can have your heels hover in your squat, or you can let your heels come down to the floor. Be mindful. Let it feel good in your hips and in your back. So you're feeling a nice release for your low back and your hips. And you're not stressing out your knees, right? Good. One more breath. And now to come up, just be really mindful as you get your feet again right underneath you so you can rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, we'll let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. And just be easy. Shake out just a little bit. Walk around a little bit if you need to. And we're going to come down onto the floor. If not, if you want to sit in your chair, you can do stuff in your chair too, Carol, okay? So either turn your chair around and sit in it, or come on down to the floor and have your blanket there handy. We're going to stay right where we are. So let yourself come on down, however you choose to get down. Good. And then just stretch your legs out in front of you, whether you're in the chair or on the floor. We're going to sit. I know, we usually go to our belly. I tricked you, didn't I? And let your legs come forward, circle a little bit. Shake out your legs a little bit. And we're going to do a classic seated forward bend, right? So for a lot of us, that means grabbing a blanket to sit on is a good idea, only because if you know you're tight in your low back and in your hamstrings, if you come to the edge of a seat of a blanket, it changes the angle of your pelvis a little bit, right? And also, if you put either a rolled blanket or blocks under your knees like that, then maybe when you come forward from your low back, it feels better, and you actually do yourself a much more of a favor than trying to force yourself into a forward bend, right? So in your chair, you can separate your feet, and you can bring yourself down, and I bet your hands can go almost all the way to the floor. Yeah, I thought so from watching you. So, And everybody else is going to come forward too. Now you guys are going to keep your legs straight or put blocks under them or a blanket. And let yourself think of coming forward from your low back. And if your knees need to bend, do it. I'm serious. And just grab those blocks if you like it. That feels even better to let the knees stay bent. Coming forward from your low back. Some of you I know will be able to reach down and get your toes. If that feels good, do it. And if you're like, are you kidding? Just hold where you want. On your legs. Thinking of just coming forward from your low back. Good. Good. One more breath. Now, if you can, try not to do this with your chin. I know it makes you feel like you're getting farther, but try to let your head release so that you're not tensing up the back of your neck. One more breath here. And then we're going to slowly make our way up. And now we're going to extend, keep our right leg long, and we're going to cross our left ankle above our right knee. And you know what? I'm going to mirror you guys here. So now I'm going to be mirroring. So you are going to have your right leg forward, your left knee bent. I'm going to come off this blanket because for me it's not good. But for those of you who need it, use it. And then from here, you got a figure 4, right? There you go. Good. Figure 4, flex through this foot, and then start to ease your way forward with a long back. Now, if you can touch this foot, if you can get your right hand onto your left foot, you can maybe even interlace your fingers a little bit between your toes. That's not always possible, but flex the foot and press the foot gently into your hand now as you start to make your way a little bit. Again, think of coming forward from your low back. So you're going to feel the hamstring of this long leg. You're going to definitely get into your left hip here. Just breathe. Let it feel good. One more breath. And then very slowly, make your way on up. Take a nice inhale here at the top. And as we exhale, we're going to twist to our left. So bring your right hand on around towards that left knee, if you can. Otherwise, you can keep it more at the midline. Don't do anything that makes your shoulders feel uncomfortable. But now really feel your sitting bones in the surface you're sitting on. Feel a lift of the pelvic floor a little bit. And feel your belly engaging there, which it does. If you lift the pelvic floor, usually you feel your belly too. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to come on back around through center. We're going all the way into the other direction, and you are more than welcome to go only as far as you want. If your left hand wants to touch your foot there, you can. That's up to you. And remember how far back you look behind yourself. That is up to you. Sometimes it feels good at the end just to maybe add a little bit more of a turn to look back. One more inhale. And then let your exhale use your belly to draw you back around. Now just for fun, if you can, take your leg with your hands here, hold on to your knee and the outside of your foot, and lift up just a little bit, right? And maybe you can rock side to side a little bit. Let yourself just, like you're rocking the baby, side to side. Good. If anybody wants to draw the leg in closer to do this, you can, okay? Because if your hip allows you to, really drawing your leg up close for some people feels really good. It just depends on how your hips are built, right? So just whatever works to help you find a release in your hips. Good. And then we're going to release down. We're going to stretch that leg. I'll put the foot back on the floor, and we're going to switch to the other leg. So crossing here, good. And if you need to, you can cross ankle over ankle. You don't have to cross the ankle above the knee. You can cross just your ankle in front of your ankle. There you go. And then again, as you come forward, think about really feeling that low back leading you a little bit forward. And if you want to put your left hand on your right foot there, if you like to interlace your fingers a little bit, you can. And if you can press the ball of the foot into your hand. And you're also keeping, if you're on the floor, not your chair, but on the floor, you feel the heel of that left foot pull it down onto the floor, draw it back towards you, and now you're activated in the front and the back of that long leg. So as you're coming forward to think of releasing the hip, you're also feeling very active as you are trying to stretch through that hamstring a little bit. Good, and one more breath. And be really mindful as you come on back up to the top. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our right. So you let that left hand again. It might come to your knee, it might not. It might be more on your shin. Feel that, again, engagement of the pelvic floor lifting up, the belly gently engaging. And again, how far back you look behind yourself. That is up to you and your neck. Don't force anything. But you know, sometimes when you have to look back behind yourself, when you're backing up in your car, you definitely want to be able to look back behind yourself. So one more inhale. And on the exhale, use your belly to bring you back in through center. We are going to keep on going all the way into the other direction. So now, again, if the right hand will come to your foot, you can put it on the foot or put it on your shin. And the back arm is just releasing to where you can be. Try not to lean back into the arm there. Good. And then again, just feel that lift of the pelvic floor. Feel your belly engaging. And then if you want to turn to look a little farther behind yourself, you can. One more breath. And now again, use your belly to bring yourself on back around into center. And now, those of us on the floor, just stretch your legs. You just uncross your legs and kind of shake out a little bit. But then, we're going to bring our arms behind us and let yourself, now, how you get here into opening your chest is up to you. In your chair, you can just lean back into the back of the chair and it supports you at just the right place. Maybe you can look up to where the wall meets the ceiling. Those of you on the floor, you can stay on fingertips if that's better for you. Or you can go flat onto your hands. And let yourself open here across your chest. Now, if any of you like that four-footed table, if you like to do a little more in your shoulders, you can bend your knees, put your feet on the floor, turn your fingertips forward and see if this works at all with lifting your hips up. And it might not. You know, you might get up and go, are you kidding me? There is no way my shoulders are going to do that. So don't do it. Come down if it's too much. You can try turning your hands the other way. Sometimes if you turn your fingers at that kind of 45-degree angle, sometimes that feels better, right? Sometimes it feels worse. It really just depends on you and your shoulders, right? And sometimes you're just going, I don't want to do any of that at all. So just don't even lift up. If it feels okay to you to come a little bit up, let yourself find your arms. I mean, you know, you can do little tricep push-ups and be really mad tomorrow when your triceps are killing you. But come on down and take care of your wrists. If you were putting weight on your hands like that, you can just turn them over. Another one is to just wrap your hands, around a wrist at a time and open and close. Of course, anything that feels good. Circling, shake out a little bit. Good. We're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. You are welcome to stay seated in your chair. Depends on what you want to do. So let yourself release on down. If you are on the floor, bend your knees, put your feet on the ground, and then just let your knees come side to side. So just relax your back there. Let yourself feel really easy on the ground and relaxing into the hips and into your low back. You can let the knees come as low as you want towards the floor. Good. And then come on back in with the knees on up into center. And we're going to bring our right knee in towards our chest and extend our left leg down long on the floor. Now you can hold behind your thigh, you know that. You can hold below your knee, on your shin, up to you. Just let yourself enjoy feeling that release, and see if you can just let your head roll from side to side. And I mean roll. So it's not like you're turning your head. It's more like your head's like a bowling ball, and it just rolls from one side to the other. You can even stay, like if you find a really tight place anywhere along the way, stay there. Let it release. Now let the head roll back so you're looking back up at the ceiling. And we're going to bring the left knee in, and we're going to switch to extend the right leg down long. Wind relieving pose. So we don't really need to talk much about what that means, but you can imagine this is a great pose actually. And again, if it feels good to do the rolling of your head, let yourself do it. So you're feeling the leg gently pressing into your hands, and you have this natural curve in your low back. It's very easy and feels good. Good. And then come on back to center with your head and let yourself bring both knees in for a second. Release your back there. And then put your feet onto the floor and let your knees open out, and think about letting the soles of your feet come towards each other. It's a Baddha Konasana. Now, if you get like this and you're like, oh, for heaven's sakes, no, I'm not doing that. Bring your knees back up, and then bring your knees in towards your chest and do your Baddha Konasana with your feet off the floor. Now, actually, those are two very distinctive, different feeling poses.
Everything feels right.
Good. And just let yourself release there.
I'm thinking about all this.
Good. The thing about when your feet are on the floor like that, and I see a lot of you are kind of enjoying it, feel how your back like comes into all those natural curves too, but you feel how your hips can release pretty deeply here. It's just different than when you have your feet, your knees up into your chest, and then you come into it, and of course different from when you're sitting, right? So bring your knees on back up again. Let your feet again walk this time towards the outside edges of your mat. And then let your arms come out beside you as you let the knees come from one side to the other. And you can do that however you want, right? However long you want to stay on one side. I know some of you like to, if your knees go to the left, some of you like to pick your left foot up and put it right up above your right knee on the outside really of your leg. And that's just a little added extra weight. It opens up through the right side of the body more, and the ribs. You don't have to do those, you know that. But if you go to the right, remember, with the knees, it's the right foot that comes up just above the outside there, up above your left knee. And you can hang out there, or not. It may not be good for everybody's knees, and I know it, so just don't do it if it doesn't feel good. And you can finish off, come on back into center whenever you're ready, and do just what your body wants to do. If you need to bring your knees into your chest, do it. If you feel like that you would like to do something else, another pose, another movement, and we're getting ready to come into Shavasana here. I'm going to go around and start to get the lights and everything. I will start to bring support, but some of you might want to do a bridge pose, or some of you might want to do another hip opener there on the ground. So take your time, and be mindful, let yourself just move into anything that you need to do so that you will be able to relax a little more easily. Remember, if you like Shavasana yourself be able to relax. Sometimes a little bit of something underneath your knees helps. Sometimes a little something underneath the back of your head helps, because that enables your neck to release, and you can, be able to release there. So, don't give up on me. I'm going to be walking around. I promise I won't step on anybody. And I would love to bring bolsters or blankets, or anybody who thinks that might feel good. Take your time. If you lie down and you start to feel tense after just a few seconds, and you feel like you need to readjust where you have your arms and your legs, by all means do that. So I'm still looking for a sign. If anybody needs a bolster, wave at me. Let yourself just feel that nice sense of release as you have your eyes just very gently closed, and you start to watch and be with the wave of your own breath. So if you were watching the waves of the ocean coming in and going out, you wouldn't try to change them. That feeling of just accepting. Same thing with your breath here. You're going to think of accepting the breaths as they come in and go out. The length might change. When you go off into thinking and you come back to your breath, sometimes you need to breathe in more deeply again, but keep refocusing. Every time your brain goes off into thinking, and it always will, does, just keep coming back to the breath. And you will find these little quiet places. They're there and they're gone before you know it. But those are the places where your body and your brain has time to benefit from all you just did. So just give yourself the gift of these few minutes, and allow yourself to completely and fully relax. feeling yourself supported there again by the floor. And allow your breath to gradually start to come in and go out more deeply. Not forcing, just receiving, becoming aware of being physical there again, and letting the deeper breaths start to refresh you. And letting your fingers and your toes, your hands and your feet, if you can, lead you into moving. So you start with your extremities and then gradually move on up through your hands, your feet, maybe your wrists, your ankles, coming into your arms, your legs, and maybe you need to stretch, or maybe you need to bring your knees in towards your chest. Just take your time as you come back into gently moving again. You know you're welcome to roll to either your right or your left side. If you're there on the floor and it's comfortable for you to do that, you can come onto your side, and if you'd like to use your arm as a pillow, you can stay there for a few breaths. Just be mindful so that you don't move too abruptly, and it feels kind of very easy when you're ready to sit up. It feels like the next natural thing to find a way to sit that's comfortable, and you can start to lengthen upward, but let your eyes stay closed if possible so that you stay internally focused a little bit longer. So you get easy in your hips in the way that you're sitting, and you easily float up with the top of the head up towards the ceiling, so you have all that space in your spine. And then it's easy to breathe. Very easy to feel the breath coming into your belly when you're sitting up nice and tall. And let your next exhale allow your hands to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Wednesday. So thank you all for being here. Busy day today. Thanks